Teal dear.
Guess who's back? Guess who's back? Guess who's back?
AngryMGTOW here.
Oh shit, son. I thought you were dead. Apparently, stupidity is immortal. Well, let's get on with it.
And today we're talking about Teal Deer.
God damn it, I feel so internet famous.
And Teal Deer is a male feminist.
Uh-huh. This is gonna be fun.
Now, many of you will remember Teal Deer from his wacky videos in which he attempts to use someone else's research to validate his misconstrued opinions.
You mean those videos where I use empirically gathered data from objective sources to demonstrate why certain people's assertions are incorrect or inaccurate? Yeah, that's totally wacky, am I right?
Teal Deer is a male feminist.
Yeah, I still can't wait to see how you're gonna prove this one.
And he is a male feminist for many reasons. One reason being such that Teal Deer isn't actually fighting against the gynocracy. Rather, he is fighting for equality between the sexes.
Wait. Is this going to become one of those dictionary definition points? Come on, man, you can't be that stupid. Oh, no, wait, you can be.
But we all know that equality between the sexes is not possible because men and women are not the same. And if you ever try to treat women equally to men, then there would be a huge eruption. What we have today is men get special punishments and women get special privileges. In the future, under egalitarianism, they would call it not equality, they would call it equity. That's exactly what they would call it, because they would say women have special needs.
No. I don't know how much of my stuff you've paid attention to, clearly very little of it. I have actually repeatedly pointed out that there are objective differences between men and women, and that these are things that you do situationally have to allow for. For example, I have spoken about this in a video where I addressed a YouTuber by the name of Jacked Up, in a segment talking about men and women entering combat roles in the military. At no point have I ever campaigned or even implied that I would desire some state of equity. Equality of outcome is bullshit. When you have differences going into something, you are going to have differences coming out of it. This is why I have repeatedly stated I don't give a fuck about men's representation in things or women's representation in things. Men and women being different will inevitably end up causing different patterns in outcome in things such as field of career. It is not a surprise that owing to basic biological differences between men and women, you are more likely to see men in frontline combat roles in the military, or in police work, or in firefighting work, or other physically dangerous and demanding jobs, because physiologically men are, on average, better suited to these sorts of tasks than women. Wanting people to have equality under the law is in no way attempting to state that you are demanding equity or equality of outcome.
Teal Deer, despite what he wants to say, and he really can't dispute this, he still is a feminist, regardless if he's made videos of trying to debunk the gender wage gap and all that other hoo-ha. He is still pushing for equality between men and women. He is still pushing for more or less first wave feminism or second wave feminism, where women have the same representation and same benefits within a company or within a business and society. Ultimately, he neglects the fact that men and women are not the same.
No. I have never suggested that we need to have equal representation of men and women in anything. As I've previously mentioned, owing to facts such as sexual dimorphism, and I've done entire fucking videos about that, it is not surprising that you see different representations of men and women in different fields. I have no particular desire to change that. If you give people equal opportunity under the law, then inevitable patterns in outcome will form. This is why I don't particularly care that there are majoritarily black people in the NBA. It's why I don't particularly care that East Asian people are overrepresented in the STEM fields. Average differences across those populations will add up and cause a pattern of behavior to arise. This is not a problem.
I know that he has videos out there where he attempts to validate his points by showing research and statistics that suggest otherwise, but ultimately Teal Deer's research methods are just that, very poor research methods, because he's just using someone else's research. And sure,
Right, so I have all of this research and shit proving that what you're saying is complete nonsense, but none of that matters because reasons. This is where you know that you're grinding your axe a little bit too hard. He uses other people's research. Yeah, and that's exactly how research is done, you fucknugget. If anything, what I'm doing isn't true research in the sense that I'm not the one setting up experiments. I'm not the one doing the data gathering. That's not what I do on YouTube. That's what real life is for. What I do is reference other people's work. Even when you do actual lab research, you will constantly be referencing other people's work. Often, that will be the starting point for what you are doing.
The research he typically uses is, from what I've seen so far, it is empirical in nature. However, keep in mind that despite the fact that it does have some traits of being empirical, while it is empirical, it is still just one piece of a bigger puzzle.
So I use empirical research that looks like empirical research because it is empirical research, and you just are trying to find a way of saying that it's wrong somehow. Let's see how deep you can shove your fist up your own arse to try and conjure up some sort of reason for that.
There are... For every piece of research that validates one of his points, there's another piece of research that disputes his points. And Tilder seldomly shows us research that disputes his points.
That's because the research that I bring up is disputing someone else's point. You are getting both sides. First, the side being presented by the person that I am frequently responding to, and then my side. I don't need to present the counter side because the counter side is already there.
That's not true transparency at all. That's bias. Okay?
Okay. You don't know what bias is. If someone presents a false assertion about something, all I need to do is find any evidence that contradicts that assertion. It is then the onus of the other person to disprove the evidence that I have presented that has disproven their original assertion. Or you may have noticed that if I do find someone else who is actually presenting evidence for their opinion, I will often find 2 or 3 other sources, or in some cases a single meta-analysis, which counts as multiple other sources because, you know, that's what a meta-analysis is, and thus my job is done.
In science, when you're conducting research, one of the most important things to do is to actually show where you might be wrong, why you might be wrong. That's one of the most important things to do when you're conducting research.
And all of the empirical papers that I reference have discussion segments, which I very often read. Those are the parts which will talk about future iterations of gathering the same data. That is, of course, assuming that I'm actually referencing an academic published paper that has a segment like that, as opposed to just a statistical report. Statistical reports do not need to have that section. But I'm glad that you've brought this up, so when in this video are you going to talk about the possibility that you might be wrong? I can't help but think that that's never going to happen.
That's not something Tilder typically does. Sure, he might say, now granted, the research does point out that there may be a chance so and so and so. However, he doesn't really do in-depth research to show the other point of view, or to show why he may be wrong, or why the research is wrong.
So I read the part that talks about the limitations of the studies that I might be using. I suggest that there might be limitations to the studies that I'm using, but I never talk about how there's limitations to the information that I'm using. Your brain is full of fuck.
But getting back to the feminist thing, Tilder is fighting for feminism.
As evidenced by the fact that I spend a lot of my time talking against it. Tell me, would you like to go full-on gangster MGTOW style here and accuse me of just being a woman who's trying to co-opt the MGTOW movement, or some other ridiculous assertion?
He's not fighting for third-wave feminism. He's against third-wave feminism. He doesn't like third-wave feminism. But second-wave feminism, oh, he loves that shit. He loves it. He loves it. Alright?
Yeah, you really missed that jacked up video, didn't you? In fact, the entire start of that video, about the first 5 minutes of it, is me talking about first and second wave feminism and how they were incredibly racist and sexist, where I bring up Susan B. Anthony's talk where she mentioned, if intelligence, justice, and morality are to have precedent in the government, let the question of women be brought up first and that of the Negro last. Because she seemed to believe that women had some inherent moral standing that just made them better than black people. And where I mentioned the Seneca Falls Convention, where men were expressly forbade entrance to the hall where the speeches were being given. And then, on the last day, a male feminist expressly stated, men have very little business here as speakers anyhow, and if they come here at all, they should take back benches and wrap themselves in silence. But yeah, I love first and second wave feminism. So much so that I point out its blatant sexism and racism, and then defined it as having a checkered past, to put it politely, especially given the fact that it was basically a movement for privileged upper-class white women to try and get more power in society while not actually having to do anything to earn it.
Taylor is a feminist. He is fighting for women's equality. He absolutely is. He is not along the belief system that men and women are not the same.
Apart from all the times that I've pointed out sexual dimorphism both physically and in regards to brain structure, and how this causes men and women to behave pretty damn differently. Yeah, apart from all of that, I totally think men and women are just exactly identical and that there are no differences between them at all.
And ultimately, he is fighting for a woman's equality. He is fighting for women to get the same absolute rights as men, even if they don't necessarily put in the same work. For example, women have the right to vote, but men were given the right to vote because of the draft. We all have to sign up for the draft. That's something that is required by law. Women don't have to. This past summer, they actually struck down a bill which would have required women to sign up for the draft. At the end of the day, we give women the same so-called rights, but they don't have the same responsibilities. Until there never puts any emphasis on women being given the same responsibilities as men.
Oh, you absolute fuck nugget! I have raised that exact point numerous times. I have actively spoken about the fact that men and women not being subject to the same draft in countries where that is applicable for voting rights is retarded. If men have to sign up to the possibility of being drafted into combat so that they can vote, women should absolutely have that same obligation as well. Or alternatively, men should be exempt from the draft and still have the right to vote. I have actively stated this numerous times. I love how this entire video has basically just been actively lying about what my position is on numerous points. I suppose next you're going to try and tell me that I think male circumcision is totally fine while female circumcision needs to be outlawed because think of two women's, despite all evidence to the contrary.
That's something I've seldom heard him discuss.
Oh wait, look. Seldom discussed. You've seldom seen me discuss it, so you have seen me discuss it. If you have seen me discuss it, then you'd know what my position is on it, and you'd know that I think that men and women being subject to different standards in order to gain the right to vote is retarded, in which case you are knowingly lying.
Let me know if you agree in the comment section that Teal Deer is a male feminist.
Well, I could, or I could just, issue this video. It's far more entertaining this way. And speaking of that comment section, I can't help but think that you're going to be closing it very, very quickly.
If you enjoyed the video, go ahead and hit the like button. Please subscribe, and if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MGTOW or death.
And unfortunately for all of us, that road that you're on seems to be very, very long. It's okay. One day the noises will go away.
Hey guys, just remember that if you have a video request and a topic you'd like me to discuss, you can send me a donation with your topic by visiting my homepage and clicking on the PayPal link.
Yes, I have a request actually. Once you get enough money to get the equipment that you so desperately need to live your life, make a video about it and let us know how that turns out for you.